We'd like to use this brief instructional video to introduce you to the fundamentals of using the JT-A4 sleeve insertion tool for making up pillar S300 end connections. This JT-A4 tool is made up of three different parts: the tool body itself, including the clamp, and a tube holder and a sleeve holder. As part of the sleeve holder, we have what we call the diameter expansion ring on the end of the sleeve holder. This diameter expansion ring serves two purposes. One is to hold the sleeve in place during makeup of the connection. Also, it creates a smooth, tapered line which aids in inserting the sleeve into the piece of tubing. In order to use this tool, you just need to select the proper sleeve holder for the job, and in this case we're using a 3/4 inch. Simply insert the sleeve holder into the clamp on the tool and tighten down using the fastening nut. At this point you are ready to put the sleeve onto the sleeve holder, and be sure to engage the diameter expansion ring to hold it in place. Next, select the proper tube holder for that, again in this case 3/4 inch, and insert the tube holder over the top of the tubing. At this point you will also want to make sure that you have your union nut on the piece of tubing. Once this is complete, simply clamp the tube into the clamp and you will be ready to insert the sleeve into this piece of tubing. At this point, you simply need to grab the handle on this arbor press and stroke the tool and insert the sleeve into the piece of tubing. Be sure not to use excessive force at this point, as damage to the sleeve could result. You only need to be within 1 millimeter of the shoulder of the sleeve with the face of the tubing in order to create a good connection. At this point, the sleeve is inserted into the piece of tubing. You're able to unclamp it, remove the tube holder, and you are now ready to insert into the fitting. To make the final connection of the sleeve tube into the fitting, simply insert the tube and run the union nut as far as you can by hand. At this point, especially for these larger sizes, you will need the wrench provided to finish the connection. As you tighten this nut down onto the fitting body, you will note that there are tabs on the bottom of the union nut and a tab on our gauge ring attached to the fitting body. As the two engage, you will hear an audible click. If you cannot hear that audible click, you will also have a visual indicator in that the gauge ring starts to collapse. This gauge ring is not intended to hold the nut in place. Rather, it is simply an indicator that lets you know you have achieved the minimum torque required to make a positive connection on this fitting. Detailed instructions on how to use this tool and how to assemble these fittings can be found on our website at www.nipponpillar.com.